Hey guys, welcome to the video. I want to give you a quick look at some UI and UX changes I did to the site as a way to teach some UX and UI principles. So let's jump into it. So here's the site. This is StudioWeb.com, the store. Now we scroll down, you look at our testimonials here. Now these testimonials are screenshots from, this one's from Instagram. I'm not sure if this is from YouTube. And if you mouse over it, you can see the testimonial. Very cool testimonials. So I wanted something that looked authentic. Here's from Twitter, for example, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the problem with these testimonials, you see that there's a inconsistency in terms of the layouts, right? This looks like Twitter. This looks like YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. It's authentic. It's real. But it isn't exactly very pretty. So what this does, this actually takes away from the overall experience of the web page, right? It's a nice clean page, nice and simple. But up here, this kind of breaks the layout. So I wanted to make it more uniform. I wanted to be able to bring in outside authentic reviews, but I wanted a more uniform look. So we looked at a whole bunch of different ways of doing this and decided the easiest way to do it would be with Google reviews. So if you're not familiar, there is Google My Business, where people can come to Google My Business and write an honest review about your business or your product, etc. So this is what we did. So I started getting Google reviews, and so what I just wanted to do is we want to replace this whole thing here with a widget that is a lot cleaner. So let me jump to what we have here. So this is a video of our demo site. So you see here are the reviews from Google Reviews versus the original reviews here. You can see that they're much more uniform in the new version, and they just look a lot better. So let me just get this into view again. Boom. So you see the reviews here. Pretty cool. And if this actually, we're using a third party to suck the reviews from another website, but it just creates a nice consistent look to the page that we see here versus the original, which although is authentic, this spacing and this inconsistency takes away from the usability, or excuse me, from the aesthetic of the site. A concept that you got to understand is cognitive load when it comes to UX and UI. Cognitive load. This is the load that you put on somebody's cognition, somebody's mental processes. The more straightforward, the more logical, the more easy on the eye the layout is, the less they have to think, and the more pleasant the experience is. So this comes down to UX and UI. UX is short for UX is short for user experience, and UI is short for user interface. So yeah, we're going to jump into a quick little ad, and then on the other side, I'm going to explain the differences and get into some other things as well. This video is sponsored by BugHerd. This is an app that can be easily installed on your web page, either through browser plugin or a JavaScript insert right at the top of your page. And BugHerd essentially will overlay a user interface so that you can have users point out, literally point and click and leave notes behind about what they want changed in a particular web page. This is great if you're a freelancer, and you want your clients to be able to check out the site and give you feedback without having to go back and forth with emails and screenshots. It's super convenient. And it's also great if you're working with a team and you just want to point out what needs to be done. As a team leader, this would be very useful for me. And I actually installed it on one of my demo sites to check all this out, and it's pretty cool. So let's take a look at the demo. All right, so I signed up to BugHerd, and we're going to set up the first site. Here it is. Create your first task. Time to update this photo. Create task. Very good. So let's jump into BugHerd. It was later. Here we go. The BugHerd task is here. We can set a date due. Not bad. So that's a very basic introduction, what you can do with BlogHerd. I can see this as being an invaluable tool as a freelancer, where you have your client go into the site and change things, add comments rather. And even working with a small team or a big team of developers, you can have the lead developer point out things that have to be changed in terms of UI and so forth. Very cool. So UX is short for user experience. UI is short for user interface. Let me explain what UX is. UX is how easy the page is to navigate. And that has to do with consistent use of fonts and colors and button styles. So for example, if you have an orange button on the page, all your buttons should be orange. If a headline has a certain font style and color, all your headline text should have the same font style and color. On the flip side, you have UI, user interface. This has much more to do with the aesthetics, how pretty it is, how good looking it is. Of course, UX and UI are interwoven, right? You're going to have a pretty looking site. It's going to be displayed so it's beautiful, but it also has to be very usable and intelligent. You can have beautiful user interfaces that look amazing, but have terrible UXs, and vice versa. You can have sites like Craigslist, for example, not very pretty. The UI is very boring, 1994 style, but it's so usable. The UX is fantastic that it's a super successful site. Now, depending on the nature of the website, UX, UI can be more or less important. Obviously, you want to try to get both at the same time, but super successful sites like Craigslist, like Google itself, prove that fantastic looking UI oftentimes is not needed if you have great content on the site and your UX is really good. You can have really bad UX, like I believe the new MySpace looks very good. The UI is really nice last time I checked it, but they made some fundamental mistakes with regards to the design, where they did this side-scrolling type of thing, which we've known since the 90s, but that's just not a good thing. And so though that site is beautiful, it's aesthetically pleasing, it's just not very good in terms of UX. So they, and the content, we can talk about that. It's not necessarily the best either. So anyhow, that's the story.